Burgess and Bolton's weekly wrap-up.
Hello, Ben. How you doing?
Hi, Jeremy. Happy Friday.
Yes, happy Friday. And welcome to the show. This week we've got a lot of stuff to go through because we've been off the last couple of weeks. We've got some stuff to look forward to as well. We've got Tin Tech coming up a week on Tuesday. We're going to do a little bit of a preview on that. And we're going to have a look at the virtual data room, Ben. That'll be a nice surprise for you. Okay, let us kick things off. So I think you found some interesting stuff on uninsurable. Oh, let me press that. The uninsurable world in the FT around climate change. This is pretty topical with all the party political manifestos coming out and being very lacking in the green side, I would say. But what's this about?
So, hi everybody. This is a series that the FT has done, which is really good, actually. Ian Smith, who's the editor, and they've just had their FT summit yesterday. So shout out to the FT for doing lots for insurance. And this is, I think, the second of three articles, but they're looking at really linking up insurance to climate change, which, of course, there is a significant and important link. And what they're saying is a couple of fairly important things. One, fundamentally, which is can insurance or reinsurance really cover these risks? But also, has the modelling data, the CAT modelling data, worked? I think the general argument in this article is really that, one, the modelling data has not been correct or accurate about the perils and the risks. Therefore, the pricing has not been right, and insurers have pulled out of significant portions of the business, or will do. And the variance and changes, obviously, in climate and the perils that we're looking at. So they talk about what insurers talk about is primary perils and secondary perils, and the argument really around this is that it's not these big catastrophes that happen infrequently, and therefore are pretty insurable in a sense, because you build up a massive capital, particularly within the reinsurance businesses, to cover these big events. But it's these secondary perils like wildfires and floods and other things, hailstorms and stuff like that are happening more and more frequently. So therefore, and the models have not really taken account of these, and nor does the insurance product per se. So I think the concern is that insurers are really falling behind in terms of this. And there is a quote here from the chief executive of W.R. Barclay saying that we have not moved quick enough or fast enough to be able to keep up with what is going on in the world, which is at one level you may say, well, that's understandable, but the insurance business is supposed to be doing this. This is what we're about, what the industry is about. So falling behind is not good. And who's covering these risks? Well, governments are increasingly covering risks through things like flood re and so on and so forth. But effectively taxation schemes really to where people are paying for insurance via the tax system to cover major calamities and risks and a lot of these secondary perils. So it's a very interesting series. I think it also says that it implies, I think, there's a significant opportunity for insurers in all of this as well. This is a question I have really, is why can't the industry start to get out of the mess it's in with its systems and its technology and other things that we know about and we talk about on this show a lot, and say, right, let's focus on what we should be doing, what we should be covering, how we're going to cover it, how we're going to work together to do that. because it's a huge opportunity for the business. And so it's pretty fundamental stuff. I've been kind of mentioning this at various claims events and things like that. And so it's really get the market to lift its head up a bit and say, what are we strategically doing? Not a dissimilar argument to something that David Howden actually put out maybe a couple of years ago now around how do we get growth in the market.
And I was just going to pick up on that kind of the opportunity, kind of the positive, if you can take it out to that article in the sense that, and you're absolutely right. I think we have talked about those kind of technology and data challenges in the past. And the more and more meetings that I either organize or go along to, I think they will get ironed out. They will get sorted out. And then once you have that fundamental either layer of technology or standardization of data, or whether it's AI that can come in and solve some of these challenges, once you've got those kind of fundamentals sorted out, then you are in a world where you are able to bring in new sorts of data that will allow you to get in front of some of these fast moving risks and be able to develop products and services that either help mitigate risk, in a new way, or kind of develop better models for kind of traditional indemnity style products. So on the one hand, I think it's a good message. We need to keep investing. We need to keep innovating in terms of products and services. But on the other hand, I think we are making progress. I think we should put a date in the diary and revisit this in a year's time and see if anything substantial has moved forward in terms of either the technology we're using or the products that have been developed, and see if we can put together some little markers in the sand. Look, we can see it positively moving forward or not. Really.
Yeah, I mean, yours is a very optimistic take, and let's revisit it. I mean, what I think occurs to me is what this article is kind of asking for really is a strategic review of the industry and what it's actually there to do and what its point is. Because if it's going to fiddle around with traditional products and come in and out of markets and things, well, that's kind of one thing. But should it be there, particularly from the reinsurance angle, to say, right, we are going to get to grips with all of this and we're going to have a plan and a strategy. There's lots of things that can knock you off course, because of course there are climate campaigns and objectives that have a go at the industry. There are climate plans in place. There is obviously ESG, but there's a lot of stuff there about whether that's real or not real. So overall, I think it needs a when I say a strategy, I mean a proper strategy where you say, actually, this isn't just about, a lot of, single products and things like that. It is definitely about the data, and I think that should get better. But you've got to look as well at the cat modelling side of this, because it does seem to me, always, I've said it before, they never seem to get their estimates right, and they do get paid a lot of money for doing that. So I think any segment of a business that is not necessarily performing, ratings agencies have been under the same pressures and have adapted to that. So I think there should be some questions asked about why are these things not working at the moment, as well as let's see how it all goes and see where it gets to.
Yeah. And I think we're going to look into kind of a wider piece around financial services in London, because there's a similar thing going on in the stock market, and that's been, over probably a decade or so, kind of losing its esteem, allure, kind of spark, or whatever you want to call it. So we're going to have a look at that in.
Well, I think as well, if you look at the politics around the world, with kind of more inward-looking populist governments who say, well, we're not going to really collaborate around these things. If you do get Trump, then he's not going to be pro-climate change and things. So I think there's a deeper concern about whether insurers will have the backing, if they say we're going to be able to try and cover these risks, and the support from government. And I think it does need governmental leadership as well as insurance leadership, I think. I mean, America has a real big issue now with, large parts of Florida and places being uninsurable, so, you don't want that to be happening in any business, because if your product isn't working, then you've got a bit of an issue.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, cool. So let's move on. Let's talk a bit about demographics in the industry. Ben, do you think we can play the Data Street jingle for this?
Why not?
Why not? Okay.
Hey Ben, what's the word on the data street? On the data street.
Right. So the word on the data street. So we're talking now about a couple of things. So how do insurance businesses promote themselves to the talent out there in the market, which we've been studying for a while, called employer brand. And we're also, as part of that, we did an event last week, a breakfast event with some HR people and heads of marketing, interesting group from some of the big insurers talking about this stuff. So one of the things that we introduced the presentation with was this data we've been collecting for a few years now. This is the broker cohort. Actually, it's not too different when you look at the underwriter or the whole lot together, but we just happen to have chosen the broker group, similar demographics. When we looked at it, if you look at the bar in the middle, when we looked at it 2022, we drew attention to the fact that there was still a very large proportion of the market was 50 plus in terms of age, and the mid-career sector, i.e. your next group of leaders, was quite low and had dropped off since 2017 when we kind of let back a bit. So because of COVID, we let back a few years, right? Yeah. So what has happened since? Well, there's some good things in a way. One of them is slight increase in the up to 24 age group, but also quite a big increase in the 25 to 34 age group. We'll take that as a real change because it's quite large, and it also correlates actually with a big drop in the 50 pluses, which is the whole great retirement thing. So what can we take away from this? Well, one is, I think that a lot of the campaigns in the market at the moment are about young people, so they may well be working. I mean, it could be that they're working, but I'm not going to say that that's the only thing, because evidently you want to look at lots of different factors. Maybe the insurance industry is paying quite well. Maybe we've other sectors like tech have come off a bit, and so on and so forth. So you could have a lot of different factors playing into this growth. But anyway, it's pretty decent news that we're not desperately short necessarily. I mean, we're going to have to look across the whole sector, but we're kind of less short of these younger types, and that's good, because that'll fill out that middle group going forward. But there's still a gap, because that group in the middle hasn't moved, and it's not really, in a sense, it's just stayed where it is. And so that means there will be a huge demand for what you'd call pretty experienced people to then step up into leadership positions, and a significant, I'd say almost a massive drop off really in experience, drain out from the top there, which is either early retirements or people who were up due for retirement anyway, combination. So if you taken across the piece, this is you could say, oh, brilliant, great, younger people coming to the market, fantastic. But there's a gap, right? There's an experience gap here that's very obvious and evident in the data, and that's where you've got to say, okay, given all the challenges, some of the ones we've just been talking about, what happens when you don't have as many of these really kind of experienced people who are ready to say, right, I'm going to take the reins, do the strategy, set the future. So I think that'll be a risk. That is a risk for the industry at the moment. And at a more prosaic level, there will be kind of a battle for this sort of talent. So where do you get it from? What are you going to do? We've talked about, the World Economic Forum talks about, most people are going to need to reskill over the next few years because of technology changes and other things. I think that's pretty true. I think we both say that was probably very likely in the insurance industry. So again, you're going to be, quite short of those mid-tier people. So I think that's quite, that's where there's going to be thoughts about, do we go outside of sector to recruit in new skilled people into the industry? So my feeling is that there should be a change of mood or approach, perhaps around the market-wide, talent things, if there are such things. I know LMG does some work in this area, to say maybe we also need to start focusing on bringing different skill sets into the market who can adapt into the insurance industry and help out in that kind of quasi, pretty experienced sector. I wouldn't be going like, let's get loads and loads and loads of young people in. And, I don't necessarily think that's a challenge, particularly. I think it's, almost impossible. You can't just invent experienced people, and when you need them, then you're short of them, right? You're short of them. That's what we've seen through COVID.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that's quite an interesting thing. It's like that what Caroline Bedford talks about, being a generalist rather than a specialist.
Yeah.
So you're able to adapt as your career progresses. And I think we will see the need to do that over, as technology, this new era of technology that is going to touch more and more on what were traditionally human only roles. Then it's that augmentation of humans and machines that will actually fire companies forward. So how are you going to bring your people along on that journey and reskill them, retrain them, and give them more vision as well? Because I think that there is still a lot of fear, I think, within organizations and people's roles. So there's quite a lot in this, isn't there, about creating a story, a narrative, getting people behind it, and then putting in place kind of structures and processes and training, more granular stuff.
I mean, again, we're back to a kind of people strategy for the market. I mean, if you think London is a thing, which some people say it is, and we'll come back to that, but if there is a sort of market-wide strategy, or let's just say even a Lloyd strategy, you would start to think about saying, could we get people to come back from these early retirements, and mentor young people? So maybe you accelerate the progress along the experience front on that, because that's really important. That's what London's about, difficult and unusual risks. If you then looking at, say, the technology side, I think you say, well, okay, so as you say, how do we do that? Well, I think it is, a shout out to Eddie and Caroline Bedford's group for doing a lot of this work. But that probably needs to be even bigger, whether it's Eddie or others, saying, look, we need to look at reskilling on a wide scale here, so that at all levels we have got these, these people who are more adaptable in these roles, and that might help the scarcity of experience, and also will, mean you're better equipped as an industry to make change and evolve, I suppose. So I think it's a lot going on here. I just hate to see or think that the market will just tinker around at the edges and not do anything that's fundamentally different. London, we will talk about it more, but it is an important place in terms of those specialized skills around risk, and that's exactly really what the FT article is saying, is can you put your intellectual powerhouse thinkers in the industry onto this stuff and start developing some products and things that make a difference, right?
Yeah, definitely. Good. Okay, we'll keep an eye on that, and I'm sure we'll come back to it as both technology and different roles evolve as well. So interesting stuff. So I wanted to just talk about TinTech, because that is coming up rapidly a week on Tuesday, and I've now got the results of the pre-event survey in, which are always interesting. Because we ask the audience what they would like to get out of the event and what they would like to get out of individual sessions, and it just really does give a kind of insight into what people are feeling and what their challenges are right now, and it also means that we can kind of track that over time. And so I will be releasing these next week, but just to kind of give you the highlights. So data, AI and automation are kind of top of the agenda. And I think what comes out of that is a couple of things. So firstly, as I've said before, kind of the results really point to, we're in this period of immense change. So, and we've had it before, where we've had e-commerce and digital and the .com it brought on a new way of trading and the internet and how that evolved into almost what we know today. But that is ongoing. Then we had kind of smartphones and mobile, and again that was another period of quite dramatic transformational change as organizations tried to work out how that technology was going to impact them and their customers and how they're going to respond. And we're now seeing it again during this period of AI hype, let's just call it that for now. But I think it's here to stay. We are seeing some proofs of concept that are coming through, not just in personal lines, but we are seeing it now in the London market. So that's really interesting. I think what the survey results point to is kind of that lack of not understanding, but perhaps the immaturity of the technology and then how it can be applied to organizations, but also more fundamentally how it's going to impact society, risks, and what we're doing. So it just feels like we're at that early stage where people are hungry to find out what other organizations are doing, what their peers are feeling about this, where the bets are being laid in terms of investment, and also how they're developing their own systems as well to be able to cope with this new, because you can't just plug this stuff in. You need some computer big power to come in and do that. I think the second thing, which is probably more interesting for us, is kind of digitizing the London market, and we're going to come on to this in a bit more. So we've had the blueprint 1 and now 2 for a number of years, and I think there is still a lack of clarity, let's just put it that way, around the timelines, exactly what it means for organizations, and how they're going to need to adapt, what systems changes they're going to need in order to do that. So that's kind of one area which we'll try and touch on at the event week on Tuesday. I think the other area which is really exciting is that organizations are coming together, brokers and underwriters coming together, going, look, we understand that the world is changing for the very reasons I outlined when I was talking about AI. We need to get ahead of this. So how can we work together as brokers and underwriters to solve some of these frictional problems that we've had in the past, mainly around data, that then allows us on the broker side to deliver more value to customers, very, very crudely, and on the underwriter side, being able to flow the data through the organization and find efficiencies and deliver a better service to clients and brokers as well. So that kind of collaboration piece is happening outside of the market initiatives, which is really, I think, very, very powerful, that you have this groundswell of momentum and just positiveness to kind of sort these kind of challenges out, because we now need to. There is an absolute burning platform. And the other thing, the last thing, is kind of enhancing the customer experience. Now, people don't, when you read the verbatim insights, they don't mention customers and clients that much. However, they are in response to a number of questions around how you are trying to enhance the customer service. So I think there is a kind of well, let me put it this way. In the past, there's definitely been a focus on just operational efficiency and how we can use tech and digital to drive out frictional costs and improve operating models. I think now there's a recognition that actually the bigger prize is in enhancing the customer or client experience, whether that be brokers or end clients. So I think that's pretty positive. And I think the forward-thinking organizations are really getting to grips with that. And you can see it in the way that they're trying to structure their organizations to break down silos and use the technology in that type of way. So really interesting how kind of the survey has moved on since this time last year, when AI and automation was probably of interest. Now it's kind of central, and it'll be interesting to see how the discussions manifest themselves a week on Tuesday, where people are interested in moving this forward.
Yeah, it is. I'm just going to focus a bit on the customer experience. It's quite interesting that comes through, because you'd expect it to. But I was thinking these more techie environments, and actually in all the environments I'm looking at the moment, there is really no clear understanding of what customers actually want from the industry, because most people are so far away from them. So I think that somewhere we have to also think about as this technology evolves, what's the value chain? What are we trying to deliver? Now, people buying insurance, if in a simple sense, most of the time they don't really, what sort of experience are we talking about? You want it to be simple and efficient and just to work. And if you have a claim, you want a similar thing, you claim to be paid quickly. You're not asking for, a kind of the Savoy experience or something like that. You don't need or want. Well, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you just don't, you don't generally need that in insurance. So there is an efficiency play here, and that's the same, I think, in the understanding of customers. But we don't really, we don't really yet understand. So I think what would be really interesting to listen to is, and I will ask some questions about this, is where does, is the customer at the heart of it, or is it an afterthought? And I often think it is an afterthought. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to do all this stuff, and then we're going to fix these things, and then the AI is going to come in and we'll save costs, and then that will also enhance the customer experience. Well, actually, I think you've got to start with the customer experience and say what you're trying to deliver and where is it. So I know we've trodden this ground before, but it is the Achilles heel, I think, of a lot of technology plays always in markets where they just go, look, here it is, it's brilliant, it does this and that and the other, but it fundamentally doesn't enhance the experience. I would also say one thing would be interesting to know more about is where the comms communications technologies are coming in over and above these operational systems, things like trading, e-trading, and how that's working, because in the end, that's probably the most visible, the most visible area at the frontier of the customer and the technology, where you're able to say, okay, I can literally instant message somebody about an esoteric risk in London, and it can be written and delivered, in Texas or whatever. That would be where you'd really suddenly start to say customers were going, well, that's pretty amazing. I'm talking corporate customers here, where they go, just to be able to do that. I mean, and I'm coming off the back of, just renewing my cyber policy, which it was just shockingly bad experience all round. The whole, the quote that I got initially was 4 times as high as the one last year. The original insurer, who I won't name, said had not even come back to the broker, so the broker assumed that they weren't writing it. And then just before we were about to pay the premium on this higher premium, the original insurer came back and said, yeah, this is no problem at all. We'll just append it to your PI, and it's 50 quid more than last year. So always round, you went, God, everything. If it could have gone wrong, it did go wrong, and it was a way. I mean, the broker was, running around, obviously trying to get that landed, but the amount of time that broker spent on what's a relatively small risk was ridiculous. And I got no information about the product or what the product was doing, and not even almost anything you buy, you get a little, this is how you use the product, this is what you do. And you think, given that they say they can't sell cyber policies, you'd think you'd get a little bit of communication about what it was. But no, you're supposed to know, you're supposed to just read the small print and understand what these policies do. It is ludicrously bad, I must say. And that's not all organizations, to be fair. I think there are some that do it better, but brokers are, I mean, I would be somewhat critical of my broker in this situation, because they don't really know what they're selling. I mean, they're just going, it's cyber, and I'm getting an underwriter to write it. But we've got to fix that. That's definitely got to be fixed, and technology's got to be part of it, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Good. So I'll look forward to seeing you there, Ben. And who's coming along? Should be good. Okay. Let us just talk about Blueprint 2 for a minute. I mean, I know we don't particularly spend too much time on this stuff, but you've been.
This? Is this a plan that was aired a few years ago? I can't remember much about it. Is it?
Yeah, I can't either. Yeah. So one of the things, it is all quiet over there, isn't it? To use the football chant. And then we get these regular kind of newslettery things, which kind of proposed to give you an update about what's going on, which is fine. And then they introduced some kind of what appears to be mad stuff, like the virtual data room and Blueprint 2 white paper to support market assurance activities. And I don't know what this is, but
no, I mean,
as far as I can tell, it is just a platform to share documents like Dropbox or Slack or SharePoint. Brilliant. But they managed to build their own.
Well, that's good. That's cost them a bit to build that. Well, you could have probably bought that off the shelf. I guess I don't get this. I read it. I did read it. I was being facetious earlier on. I mean, seriously, is that what we're getting? Do we have to have a whole half a page on basically a folder with some documents in it? That's not what we want.
They're not documents, Ben. They're artifacts.
I don't even know what artifacts are.
I know that they're in a museum.
Artifacts.
Artifacts.
What language are we? What world are we living in? I was supposed to be appealing to young people. I mean, I don't know what that is. I'm old.
Yeah.
I have to look that up. Artifacts. Honestly.
I don't know.
Get real.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I don't know what's going on there, but anyway, there's some more events coming up. So, and we've got a session at TinTech on that. So,
I just want to say that the question I've been asked over the last 2 weeks, the most often at all the events I've been to, which is quite a few, and with I've been in and out of a lot of carriers daily, 2 or 3 a day, and that again is the most common question. What do you think of Blueprint 2? What's happening with Blueprint 2?
Yeah.
And honestly, senior people don't know. I mean, I'm not, again, this is just a question. These are very senior people and they don't know. And they're asking me if I know. And of course, I don't know either.
No.
But maybe they'll get some artifacts to help them.
Yeah. Let's move on.
Leonardo da Vinci painted Mona Lisa.
The what are they called? The thingy marbles.
The Elgin marbles. Yeah.
Elgin marbles.
They're in the British Museum. That's an artifact.
That is definitely an artifact.
I've got loads of artifacts, actually, come to think of it. They're probably not the ones that Lloyd's is thinking of.
I don't know what they're thinking. Anyway, do you want to do employee brand?
No, we'll do that next week. We'll do that next week.
Okay, fine. Right, let's wrap things up then, Ben, with a bit of predictions of the Euros. Very excited. Starting tonight, Scotland against Germany, or Germany against Scotland, rather. And yeah, I don't know. It's quite interesting. All the big teams have not been playing very well. Dark horses and all that. Could be a shock upset.
Okay, so we've chosen already the teams that we're going for on this show, haven't we?
Yes. So I've picked Portugal and you've picked
France, I think they're favourites, aren't they? Are they co-favourites with England?
Yeah, I think England are favourites, depending on what website you go onto. But yeah.
Well, I'm still going France. I think they've got better players.
I think so as well. I think France will do it in their kind of boring defend. Ah, we got a goal, brilliant. But that's a way to win a tournament. So
dark horse.
Horse. I'm
just going to randomly choose one, so without really any knowledge, and then we'll see if we win.
Okay, I'm going to say Denmark because they have done it before.
Yeah. In
this kind of situation.
I'm going to say Czechia. In Group F, because I don't really know much about them, and you never know. Could be another Greece.
I don't even know I don't know where I even got this from. It looks like it's half done. It's not the best
teams on, is it? It's not even got all the teams on it.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's the prep we're way into this bit. Yeah, so we can we'll keep you posted on that. Well, you won't need us to keep you posted, but we will keep an eye on this. I got in the sweepstakes for my five-side team. I got England and Georgia, and the way that we do it is we have a prize for the winner and second place, and a prize for the loser. So I'm in for kind of both ends of that competition. So so
that's
fine.
fine. You should win one way or another.
One way or the other. Yeah, you never know. But yeah, very excited tonight. Looking forward to it. A bit of something different on the telly for a month, and then it'll be the Olympics and cycling. Oh, what a summer we have!
And the election.
And the election. Brilliant stuff.
It's all go, isn't it? Yeah. Are we doing peak?
Peak. Oh yeah, let's do peak. Let's do.
What's peaking today, Ben?
I forgot how good that is.
What's peaking today, Ben?
What's peaking today, Ben?
People awards.
People awards in general, but yeah.
I'm sorry. I mean, awards I can get some. I think there's always going to be awards, but there's a last couple of years has seen a massive people awards. Now, look, people awards. I'm part of the problem. I realise that. I do some rankings of underwriters, brokers, all that sort of stuff. You've been working with me on it.
Smash the events by putting up the slide with the winner on.
Yeah, you spoiled it. That
Sorry.
was good. Yeah, you're not even
loud near it.
Employed on it anymore. If you were ever employed, I'd say this is so my thing about it. This is about peaking. It's not saying whether it's a good or a bad thing to have these people awards, but there are so many now, and I can't in any way seriously keep up with how many people are nominated for these awards. And I won't even say which awards there are, but there are all sorts of awards that seem to be like the equivalent of what America did in Vietnam with carpet bombing, where everything, every single part of the market is covered. It's like sort of these companies of these people who are doing these awards have said, look, you literally just take every single person on the alphabet in the market and then just nominate them for an award, and then we'll select the ones that win. I mean, it's nice to have recognition, but we've gone so far. I think so. My prediction is that there'll be less of this in future because people will get a bit like
don't mean anything.
Yeah, it dilutes the effect, the impact.
Yeah,
of it really.
And when we do our people awards at the end of the year, as we quite often do on the Christmas special, I mean, because we only have a few.
Yeah.
They mean so much more to people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really critical. I'm not critical because I said I wasn't going to be, but I'm of the view that if you nominate so many people, that's where it becomes peak. You get too much of something. It's like you could have peak ice cream or peak, Yeah, James Corden. If you take a celebrity, I mean, that was way too much of him, and I am actually critical of him though as well. But that's my personal opinion. He makes me really angry, and but that's kind of peak. We've had too much of something, and I think we've had too much now of these mass nominations, and it'll come off the boil. And we'll go back to it. The teachers' world, they used to have an award which was Teacher of the Year globally. Like one teacher won it and got $1 million.
Wow.
I always thought that was a really good award because there's only one winner, but you get the same publicity, the same messages about talent, the same things, but you kind of follow it because you go, which one teacher in the world is going to win it? I mean, that is some teacher.
Yeah.
And £1 million, and then you're not going to be a teacher.
Yeah, exactly. See ya. I went So I went to an awards yesterday, which was for the. No. It was for the Metropolitan Police. I wasn't. No, it's for the Metropolitan Police. It wasn't for me. It was for my wife, and this was for service. So she's been in the police a long time, And so the commissioner was up there, and there was 118, I think, that and what was quite interesting was the range of roles that you get within the Met. You always think the Met is one kind of just one organization. Policing. Actually, it's just lots and lots of different, almost, think about it as little companies within there doing stuff. So lots of firearms, lots of drivers, and just police officers, and then you've got operations.
Dog handlers, the one for dog handlers bit.
There wasn't a dog handler there.
What's going on? That's the best one.
Yeah, but maybe they
have a whole separate one.
Maybe they do.
Dog handler of the year.
But it was good. I gotta say, they did it really well, and they got across that point. And I think I'm getting to my point now, which is kind of that recognition and recognizing talent across an organization through those kind of awards. And that's when it really works, because everyone left there going, I feel really good. I've got my certificate or whatever else. The commander spent quite a long time on stage with each person, which I thought was great. And that really, they all came away feeling good, and you got a bit of PR and all that kind of thing out of it. So I'm
liking that sort of thing, because I think what you've put your finger on there is that you've got to sort of explain why this is worth having an award. And I think some of the things that are going on in the market at the moment, it's like being an award for just being Ben Bolton. And I'm not in any way disappointed I haven't been nominated for anything. I mean, that's the last thing I ever want to happen. But obviously, if I do get nominated, then we'll have to do another show, which is about how brilliant awards are and how they contribute to the health of the industry. But at the moment, I'm not in it, and I'm not there, so I'm shouting from the sidelines about it. I just think that, to your point, I want to know not just that Joe Bloggs or Julie Stevens won this. I want to know what they do. But you get a lot of kind of bland stuff about some of these things, don't you? Like, she or he is recognised for their contribution over the year. But actually, I want to know what that is.
Yeah, indeed. So maybe we should set up an awards, Ben.
What should we do?
Set up an awards with that.
So I can win one. You mean?
You can win one.
We can both win one.
We could both win an award every year.
The other thing is, if we set them up, then we can say we're not allowed to be nominated for any because we run them.
Yes,
that would be good. Because I'm not going to be nominated anyway.
I think I might mention this on the show, but there was quite a big thing where a publication, it wasn't an insurance, maybe it might have been, where they were basically just taking money and giving the awards to the people that were kind of sponsoring the event. And I think some kind of regulator just clamped down on them and said, you can't.
Oh, well, that happens. I mean, I've had one chasing me on emails saying, oh, we're doing this book of the best people in business in the UK, and you're one of them, providing you pay £2,000 to be in the directory. I mean, obviously I've done it, but it seems to lack a certain level of integrity.
Yeah. Hey ho. There we go.
I haven't done it really.
I know you haven't. Oh dear. Well, that's what's peaking this week. Looking forward to
I think that's going to peak. I think that's going to go out of fashion. That's my thing, along with Ramesh Ranganathan.
Yeah.
And they'll go the way of James Corden.
Singing in a Range Rover.
Dreadful character. Shouting at people in restaurants.
Yeah. I've never seen anything he's done apart from Boys from the Alan Bennett thing. Anyhow.
Yeah, he's done a load of stuff, but I mean, anyway, we don't want to talk about Corden on here.
No, definitely. Okay.
More public.
Thanks for tuning in. We will see you next week. We'll be deep into the Euros, and we're going to talk, I think, next week just generally about financial services and talent, and how do you get an industry to galvanize between industry vision. Interesting stuff.
Yeah,
okay.
I think we'll we'll get someone on next week to talk about that as well as us.
Yeah, good. Okay, thanks very much.
Bye, everybody.
And bye.
You can.